we test by shifting blame. And what does that mean? Like the first offer should be insulting in any land business. Truthfully, logically, if you have a 200 grand property, my first offer is going to be 80 grand. You're going to spit in my face if we were in person, right? I'm insulting you if we're being honest and you know what your property is worth. That's just the way it goes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Only LandFans show. I'm Kendall Lejeune, and this is a special deep dive episode into our masterclass with Ajay Sharma on how to buy lower, sell higher, and build more predictability in your land business. If you've been in the land game for a few years now and want to get better at turning leads into actual deals, this episode is for you. Today, we're breaking down some really effective sales strategies I learned from my conversation with Ajay. Ajay's built a land business that pulls in 5-figure profits month after month. He's got a COO and several acquisition specialists working with a proven system for converting leads into closed deals, something many of us still struggle with, even after years in this business. We'll dig into 4 key areas that could transform how you do business: the psychology behind making offers, creating emotional connections when you negotiate, a simple way to handle objections, and tracking the right numbers to grow your business. These aren't just theories, they're strategies that helped Ajay go from part-time to full-time investing at just 23 years old. He's done everything from small profit deals to 6-figure paydays, so let's get into it. Let's start by challenging something many of us believe, this idea of bad leads. Here's what Ajay thinks about that.
I think that's garbage, to be honest. If you have a pool of sellers that have indicated any interest of selling a property through self-election, they're not bad leads. Oftentimes it's bad sales and bad sales process. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people that are difficult to work with. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is if you can generate leads and you could generate 100 leads tomorrow through some RVM or some text campaign, you can convert some of those deals, especially assuming you do some form of double close where you can offer more than just the traditional 30 to 50 cents on the dollar. If you can make a margin of $20, $30, $50,000 on a wholesale deal, there is a lot of ways to monetize this business. And so I just want to start by saying, oftentimes people are just bad at sales rather than being bad at leads. And a lot of us are just so coddled because back in 2019, 2021, this business was so easy.
That's pretty powerful, right? When sellers respond to your marketing, they've already shown some interest in selling. The problem usually isn't the leads, it's how we talk to those leads. Instead of trying to close every deal on the first call, Ajay uses a 2-call system. The first call is usually just about conversation, and the offer comes later. Let's hear how that works.
In that light, though, here's something that I think a lot of investors get frustrated about that I want to break some conventional wisdom on. Okay. And for some context, apologies, Kendall, my team did not send you the most updated list of our staff. That's my fault. But we actually have 7 on staff now. It was 8 this morning and we let somebody go. But we have 7 on our staff, not including Ben and myself. So a team of 9 total. In that, though, our structure is a 2-call close. And what I mean by that is a lead comes in, a lead manager speaks to them, and they do not present an offer on that first call.
What makes this different is that first call. It's all about building rapport and understanding the seller situation. Ajay's team spends about 20 to 30 minutes on these initial calls, a bit longer than the quick 7 to 10 minute conversations most of us have. This extra time creates a real advantage. Here's Ajay explaining why.
I tell my lead managers, people that don't put a lot of process in place with their lead managers, leaving money on the table, in my opinion. And here's why. Here's a really high leverage thing your lead managers can do if they're good, is uncover true asking price, right? You get so many sellers that are combative and say, you called me, you texted me, you mailed me, make me an offer, right? And hey, like, I get it. Now, what I can tell you is that we have seen, in terms of tracking variables, more talk time typically means more rapport, which ends in the result of a seller volunteering asking price more often than not.
This is huge for improving your conversion rates. By spending more time on that first call, you do 2 important things. First, you build real rapport with the seller, which makes them much more likely to trust you throughout the process. Second, and this is gold, you often get them to tell you their true asking price. Now you can prioritize which leads to chase and have a starting point for your offer. When a seller tells you they take a price that works for your business model, you can focus your follow-up on those properties with much more confidence. What really sets the best land investors apart is how they handle negotiations. Instead of making it a battle, Ajay teaches his team to create a completely different dynamic.
I train both my acquisitions team and my dispo team on this. I tell them, guys, you have to make the prospect feel like we're on the same team, okay? I train you that this is a negotiation. You need to not let them think it is a negotiation.
This changes everything. Instead of being the person trying to get the lowest price, you position yourself as a partner helping solve a problem. Ajay explains how to do this.
Our team is trained to sell from the need, okay? And so here's what that means is prior to that, you need to understand people are motivated by one of two things. I've talked about this before. Tony Robbins says every human is either running towards pleasure or running from pain. What I can promise you is pretty much every human in their life has some level of pain, okay? Some level. I don't know what's going on, but it's our job to figure that out, right? And typically we figure that out through in our sales process. We start with a light intro, then we frame the call. Hey, this is only going to take so long. Then we start with some past questioning. Past questioning sounds something like, hey, Kendall, I see you bought your property in 1981. What was going on in 1981? I really like soft ways to ask, why'd you buy the property? Because everyone says that. I want to know what was going on this year. And now you can say, oh, me and my wife had just moved to Alabama and we were thinking, one day we're going to build. But you get stories. You don't want to ask yes or no questions. So we start in the past. And typically when we bridge into the present and the future is when we start uncovering pain.
This is totally different from how most of us negotiate. Rather than focusing mainly on the property's features or value, Ajay's team structures their conversations to uncover the emotional reasons why someone wants to sell. Ajay has a specific questioning sequence that helps reveal these motivations. He calls it the past, present, future framework.
Got it. So Kendall, you were planning to build this cabin and it sounds like you're no longer doing that. Like what happened, right? So you're trying to bridge from past to present. And now it's, okay, in the present, how long have you been considering selling the property? About 6 months. Got it. What happened 6 months ago?
I love this approach because it follows how people naturally tell stories about their lives. You ask about the past. What were your original plans for the property? Then the present. What changed? And finally, the future. What do you hope to do after selling?
I'm going to go on vacation.
This creates a conversation that naturally reveals their true motivations. Once you understand these motivations, you can present your offer in a way that directly addresses their needs. Ajay calls this selling from the need.
So now when we go into negotiations and they want $50,000 for the property and it's worth, 80 because we were going to double close it. We can now sell from the need. Okay. And what I mean by that is, hey, Kendall, earlier you did tell me that $15,000 bill was stressing you out. If I could get you a $30,000 check and you could take care of that medical bill, what would that do for you? You're not selling on logic. You're selling on emotion.
This completely changes the conversation. Instead of haggling over price, you're showing how your offer directly solves a problem the seller's facing. The negotiation becomes about their needs rather than just what the property is worth. This also lets you present a below market offer in a way that still feels good to the seller. You're not just offering less than market value, you're offering a solution to a specific problem they've shared with you. If you're finding these negotiation strategies helpful, make sure you subscribe to the Only LandFans channel. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to catch all our deep dive episodes with top land investors, sharing what they've learned and how they run their businesses. We all deal with objections from sellers. What sets the most successful investors apart is understanding that all objections fall into just a few categories, and that you can address those objections before they even come up. Ajay breaks down all seller objections into just 4 simple categories.
There's only 4 types of objections, okay? Now, people are going to call these they're slightly different depending on who you sales train with. I can't remember if this was, there's so many different people I've watched on YouTube, but there's only 4 types of objections, okay? It's certainty, which is trust, right? Do they think they're going to get the outcome that we're all talking about, which in our case is, do they trust you that you're going to give them the money? It's price, obvious, right? Price is a pretty big deal. People can object on price. Spouse/partner, got to talk to my wife, got to talk to my husband, got to talk to my brother, my cousin, whatever, right? Business partner, spouse, sibling, that type of deal. And then it's time. And timing can be 2 things. So there's time as in like terms, like instead of a 30-day close because they need the money really fast, 90, 180. Or it can be, now's not a good time to sell the property. We just had a death in the family and you just need to follow up at a later time. And so those are the only 4 types of objections is what I'll say.
This makes handling objections so much simpler. Every resistance you encounter will fall into one of these 4 categories. Certainty. The seller doesn't fully trust you or the process. Price. They want more money than you're offering. Spouse or partner. They need to check with someone else. Time. Either the timing or the closing timeline doesn't work for them. What's even more powerful is how Ajay's team addresses these objections before they happen, something called pre-framing. Here's how Ajay preemptively handles the spouse partner objection.
And so you're trying to get ahead of them in your sales script. which is where if I'm hearing somebody's married or they like one of the questions we're going to ask is, are you the only owner of the property? Is there anybody else we need to check with? Is like the easier way. Hey, and if we were to make you an offer on the property, is there anybody else we need to check with? Yeah, I got to talk to my wife. Got it. Okay. And I'm assuming like, have you and your wife already talked about selling the property?
This is way more effective than making an offer and then hearing, I need to talk to my spouse afterward. By bringing it up early, you can either include all decision makers on the call or find out if they've already discussed selling. Ajay uses this pre-framing approach with all 4 objection types, especially during the call introduction.
We try to get ahead of those 4 objections if we can, and that just makes the sale, so to speak, that much easier. In our pitch, which is like a term of before we offer price, we go through our pitch, which is, hey, just so you know, here's how we operate and the things that are enticing about working with us. We can close our deals in X amount of time. Right? That's where we set the foundation for timing. We don't negotiate on time. We just tell them, hey, typically we close our deals in about 90 days.
What makes this approach so valuable for growing your business is that it creates consistency across your team. You're not just relying on individual sales talent. You're building objection handling right into your processes and scripts. Of all the objections, Ajay says that certainty, whether the seller trusts you or not, is often the toughest.
How do you get ahead of certainty? That one's the toughest one. That's where you'll frequently get like I need to think about it, right? If you got that, they don't trust you more often than not. Sometimes there's some other stuff going on, but typically they don't believe you're going to deliver. They think you're a scam, right? And there's different ways you can go about that. Again, rapport is going to help build trust. Talking about, hey, we work with reputable title companies and attorneys. You can call any of them. I've got money in escrow, whatever. There's different ways you can go about it. But what I find is when you take off a mask and talk to somebody like a human, I just got an LOI in a big development deal, and I'll watch my language because I don't know if there's kids in cars or what's going on. But I was talking to them. We were going back and forth on this LOI, the letter of intent, which is supposed to be the simplest piece because we had a non-circumvent agreement that they wouldn't go talk to our seller basically. And I said to him, I said, dude, my only concern here is that you don't go around us. Basically, don't be a jerk. That's the nice word that I'll use. And we both laughed about it. Okay. And I was like, hey, whatever legalese your lawyers want to put together, fine. But just don't be a jerk and try to reoffer at the closing table or go around us and talk directly to the seller or wait for our contract to expire. That's all we're trying to do here. And he was like, got it, cool. And we were good. But when you take off masks, it's just so much easier to sell when you just like connect to people as humans.
This highlights something really important. While systems and scripts are essential, real human connection is still at the heart of effective sales. Being authentic and transparent often builds way more trust than any sales technique. By organizing objections into these 4 categories and addressing them proactively, you can dramatically increase your conversion rates and create a more predictable sales process. To consistently grow your land business, you need to track the right things. Ajay has a smart approach to measuring what really matters.
Whatever metrics you ask your team to report to you, they will view as important. So if I'm asking them, hey, tell me how long you were on the phone today, or how many appointments you booked, or how many times you tied your shoe, they're going to think tying their shoe is super important, right? Like you want to be very careful. How many bathroom breaks did you take? Oh God, now they're paying attention to their bathroom breaks. Be careful, right? And what I recommend is don't give any individual more than 3 to 7 to monitor.
This is key. What you measure shapes behavior. Many of us track too many metrics or focus on the wrong metrics. Ajay keeps it simple with what he calls a stoplight report that focuses on the most important numbers. Here are the specific metrics Ajay tracks.
Number 1 is gross leads, right? How many leads are you getting? Really simple. I just want to know how many leads we're getting in every day. Whatever marketing channel you're using, just see how many you push into your CRM. Super simple thing to track, right? Number 2 is our net leads, which for us is just how many connections did you have? So the number we track is seller conversations at the individual level, typically. At the lead manager level, it's how many people did you talk to? And then we'll get into some other stuff later. Okay, but that's how many of our leads we actually connected with. That indicates our connection rate. That tells me just, hey, if you're getting 100 leads, but you're only connecting with 60, there's probably something we can do to improve that, right? And so I want to connect, like I'm paying for my leads. I want to connect with them. I want to talk to them and figure out if we can do business together. That's number 2. After our connection rate is going to be, I think it's our offers, right? How many offers are we making on a daily basis? You have me hesitating now, and I'm going to pull up my my KPI sheet. We just use a Google sheet, like we're so simple. Okay, no. So we actually track gross lead, net lead. Yeah, and then it's offers made. So how many offers am I making daily, weekly? You can aggregate, average, whatever you want to do. But again, number 1 deal killer or business killer on the acquisition side would just be to not make offers. And important in acquisitions, because if we don't make offers and we don't buy deals and get deals under contract, we don't have inventory. I can't make money, right? Offers made. After that, it's contract sent, right? You can call this whatever you want. It's verbals. Yes, I will do the deal. It's contract sent because we use DocuSign. We'll send it out. And then it's contract signed, right? After that, it's completed contracts.
These 5 core metrics give you a complete picture of your acquisition funnel. Gross leads. How many potential sellers respond to your marketing? Net leads or connections. How many of those leads you actually talk to? Offers made. How many property offers your team presents? Contracts sent. How many sellers verbally accept your offers? And completed contracts. How many deals actually close? What makes this approach so valuable is how the relationships between the numbers reveal specific problems in your business. Ajay explains how these metrics help pinpoint exactly where improvements are needed.
Leads to net leads will tell me you're crap at your lead management. All right. You're not triple dialing twice a day, daily for 2 weeks, whatever you want to do, but you're not getting a hold of your leads, dude. You're wasting money is what that's telling me if your net lead sucks. I want to say industry standard is somewhere in between 65 and 80% for net leads on a rolling basis. So keep in mind, old leads pop up, new leads die, whatever. But on a rolling basis, somewhere between 65 and 80. I can't remember what the industry standard is. Leads, net leads. Okay. Net leads to offers made. Dude, if my ratio sucks, are we not making outbound calls? Are we just not making the offer? There's something there I need to dig into, though. Am I chickening out because of an asking price? But it tells a story, okay? Offers made to contracts sent. Your close rate sucks, right? Depending on your lead quality. And this is huge. So like people love to ask, dude, what are your baseline numbers? This is where things really change. Because if I was doing Mojave County lots, I'd have a very different number than if I was only doing subdivides. And I'd have a very different number if I was only doing double closes in 15K kind of spread buy box. And I'd have a very different number if I was only doing flips at 50% of margin value with 70K properties. You see what I mean? What I can tell you is our close rate, depending on lead quality, type of property, has ebbed and flowed. We do double closing, so take this with a grain of salt, but between 8 and 22%, depending on qualification and marketing channel.
This approach lets you identify exactly where your business needs work. If your ratio of gross leads to net leads is low, your follow-up system needs improvement. If your ratio of net leads to offers is low, your qualifying process or offer presentation needs attention. If your ratio of offers to contracts is low, your negotiation approach probably needs some work. Ajay even shares his benchmark conversion rates, between 8% and 22% of offers turning into contracts, depending on lead quality and marketing channel. This gives you a practical target to measure your own performance against. Ajay ties everything together with a simple formula that captures what makes a successful land business.
Business, in my mind, is activities times volume, okay? And let's put those in brackets. I'm not like presenting, so I don't have anything to put up on the screen. But activities would be phone calls, right? Hey, I need to make calls, okay? And then volume would be like the number of that activity, right? I need to make calls. If I do 20 of those, I have my first number, right? So you have an assigned activity. When I say activity, it's like a thing you can do. I can make a call. I can send a text. I can drop a voicemail. I can make an offer, right? Activity times volume. Volume is just number of thing, number of activity, right? Plus process. The reason it's an aggregate is because activities times volume is one variable in my mind, right? So this would be like a 7x type deal. And process stacks, okay?
This formula, activities times volume plus process equals results, provides a really clear framework for improving your business. Activities is defined as the specific actions that drive results, calls, offers, follow-ups, etc. Volume, how many of those activities you complete. Process is the systems that make those activities much more effective. By looking at each component separately, you can find the most efficient path to growth. Sometimes it's doing more of the right activities, while other times it's improving the effectiveness of what you're already doing. Ajay emphasizes that taking action is more important than perfecting your process.
Bad process is better than no process. So don't overthink this to the point where you don't execute on activities and accumulate volume. The fastest way to get good process is to learn from mistakes through volume. So just like do a bunch. If you do a bunch of calls, you'll get better at sales.
This balance between systems and action is crucial. You need organized processes, but experience is the best teacher. Starting with an imperfect process and improving it over time is way better than waiting until you have the perfect system figured out. If these metrics are changing how you think about your land business, we'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below sharing which metric you're going to track first or what your current conversion rates look like. Your insights help the entire community get better. Let's wrap up the key strategies we've covered that you can use in your land business today. The 2-call system. Use separate calls for qualifying leads and presenting offers. Spend 20 to 30 minutes on initial calls to build rapport and get their true asking price. Use scheduling tools to book specific times rather than trying to close on the first call. Team-based negotiation psychology. Position yourself as a partner helping solve problems, not someone trying to get the lowest price. Use the past, present, future questioning framework to understand the seller's situation. Base your offer on the specific needs and pain points the seller shared with you. The 4 objections framework. All objections fall into 4 categories: certainty or trust, price, spouse partner, or time. Address potential objections early in your conversations before they even become roadblocks, and build trust through genuine communication rather than rehearsed sales talk. Metrics-driven optimization. Focus on 5 core metrics: gross leads, net leads, offers made, contracts sent, and completed contracts. Use the relationships between these numbers to spot where you need improvement in your business. Apply the formula activities times volume plus process equals results to grow systematically. Triple dial follow-up strategy. Call sellers 3 times in a row with 5-second pauses between calls to increase your pickup rates. Do this within the first 48 hours of getting a lead to maximize the lead. When sellers answer, be confident about the multiple calls. Make it seem normal. We've seen how Ajay Sharma built a successful land business by focusing on sales processes that create consistency, scalability, and better profits in today's competitive market. These strategies have helped him build a team that makes 5-figure profits month after month. What's clear is the difference between good and great land investors often isn't about finding more leads, it's about converting more of the leads you already have. If you found value in this episode, please leave a review and share it with other investors in your network. Our community grows stronger when we learn from each other's successes and challenges. Until next time, keep improving your land business, and we'll catch you in the next one. Hey land fans, tired of sellers ghosting faster than your ex? Get ready. Our friend Ajay Sharma has created the ultimate program to transform your acquisition game. Land Closers Academy brings you weekly call reviews, a powerhouse community, and the proven system for turning leads into signed contracts. And check this out. Sign up now at olfclosers.com and you'll get my personal call review template that's crushing it with both my team and my coaching clients. This is the exact system we use to level up acquisition managers and consistently grow their closing skills. It's a game changer for managing your team. Ready to close more deals? Head to olfclosers.com and let's get you crushing it. Because the only thing getting ghosted should be your old closing rate. Boom.